is decided to mow the lawn. So, yeah, got a little loud there for a minute. No, I said, thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
And that's going to be really interesting. So you guys are going to release the fulcrum, huh?
Everything's coming out. Everything's coming out, guys. Everything.
And the White House has agreed to this?
They are preparing to enact a protection of our country in any way possible by bringing out the truth and with complete and provable data. And that's what we want. We want data and proof of it all, and it's coming.
Well, interesting. Okay. All right. So other intelligence news. Just one quick mention. It's been a few weeks now since the key intelligence military platform has been disconnected from all the agencies around the world. Currently, they are all closed loop systems unto themselves. They have no connection into banking anymore. They have no connection into Associated Press and Reuters. And you'll probably notice in the news, I know we noticed it this morning, for about a week now, they're reporting events that happened a week ago. There's no coverage on a lot of different things that are going on, which I find really strange, not only in the United States, but all around the world. And I think this actually proves, which I'm looking for right now, I think that actually proves where all of the news comes from. Because if they were still connected, then we should have news, and we don't. I think they're lost right now. I don't think that they don't know what to say and what not to say, because I'm pretty sure that every single group is tied to the Black Sun and through the agencies, not only in the United States, but around the world. So for some odd reason, yesterday, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, there really is very little news, except for the most exciting thing in the entire planet Earth right now is Trump wore a mask yesterday while visiting the hospital. So I can't believe there's nothing going on in any other country in the world, let alone, or in the US. There's not even anything really in the news about Black Lives Matter right now. I mean, there's nothing. It's very strange. I mean, all these events are going on, and where's the news? So I find that really interesting, and I'm going to look into those ties, and we'll be back to you next week on that. Next, the Federal Reserve pulled out of the repo market this week. It's not on the news. That is a newsworthy item. That's a mainstream media item. I have no idea why it's not out there. But they did pull out of the repo market, which panicked all the banks, and they threatened to crash the markets on Friday, which was where the money was coming from to purportedly pay all these other countries through the World Health Organization. They had a siphon built in Auckland, New Zealand this time, which had siphoned about $528 billion from the system, and meaning the entire global banking system. That's central banks. China was a victim, Australia was a victim, Singapore was a victim, number of different countries were victimized, on private banking institutions as well, by this issue. And they thought they were going to buy America for whatever they could get. They were still trying to get more. They were running out of time, so they thought that they should crash the market and take all the cash out of the market. Well, I'm not really sure who would have done such a thing, but somehow when Fed woke up on Friday morning, there was zero cash on hand, zero liabilities, and zero assets. And that goes for all of its ancillary assets. So if you know how the world of banking is structured, on the front end, you have the Fed. And then under the Fed, you have central banks and tier 1 banks. So your HSBC, your Barclays, your Credit Suisse, your UBS, your Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. They sit on the same level as central banks. Then underneath them, you have ancillary banking institutions. Everyone down to the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, in the banking system, it runs in what's called a SQL server. So you have to go from the Fed to bank to a tier 1 institution. Like, for example, if you're transferring money to a credit union, it would go through the Fed to JP Morgan and then to your respective credit union, because JP Morgan houses all the credit unions. So just picture a giant flow chart with the Fed at the top, a pyramid. Wow, they really like pyramids a lot, don't they? So pyramid like this, and then each level has a different layer of banking. So if you're banking at Small Town Bank, Oklahoma, then you might be down here, but that means you have to go through all of these layers to get to your institution every time you make a transfer one way or another. And that's part of the reason why it takes a little longer to get a transfer at a small town bank versus, for example, an HSBC to Wells Fargo. So that structure now, all the custodian institutions, all are zero cash, zero liabilities, zero assets, zero. Because the Fed takes custody of the tier 1 banks. The tier 1 banks take, and central banks, the Federal Reserve controls all of them, every currency, everywhere. So the stories that you hear on the internet about the RMB being the new currency, it doesn't matter. It's all the Fed. Nobody issues a new allocation without the trust and then without the Fed. That's just the way the world works. So when everybody woke up on Friday morning, not only did they get their hefty bribes and payouts from the World Health Organization for allowing COVID to happen in all our countries around the world, they also had another problem. So no cash, no Auckland, New Zealand black site, no siphon, no 520 or 36 billion, I think it was, all of it gone in one day.
So Kim, they did not get their hefty payout for the.
Not only did they not get a payout, every central bank in the world woke up with 0, 0, and 0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So everybody was screaming at the Fed on Friday. We were on our little morning call we have with the UNC team, and I was getting text messages while I was on the call, and you probably all remember me saying, "This world is on fire," because everybody was screaming at everybody. And yeah, so that's what happened with the Fed this week. So they claim it's an IT problem. That's what they've told all the countries, and that no worries, they'll have it resolved hopefully by Sunday. I think it was about 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If not, then it'll probably be by Monday. Well, now the world leaders are getting restless because not only did they not get their bribes and payouts they were supposed to get from the World Health Organization on Friday, coincidentally the same day the RV was going to happen. We'll discuss that in a few minutes. But now they have 0. So tier 1 banks, central banks, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, there's no, the custodialship is broken. There's nothing there. Nobody's home. So in anticipation of something like this potentially happening, we have created an entirely new banking system in the last couple of weeks. And the banking system is complete. We are just now connecting it to what we call a front-end platform, which means that's your phone app. That's your, your website. How do you get in there and bank? Transferring money from the back database to the front end system. So it is finished, it is completed. We are connecting to 2 different platforms right now, and there'll be a 3rd one that's coming this week. The application is pretty well working. It does have facial recognition, fingerprint to log in. You can do touch pay like you do with Apple Pay at the store. So you'll have full accessibility to your funds. We currently are not able to issue credit cards and debit cards. However, we should be able to do that in the future. But in the interim, you can actually receive a code on your phone, which will allow you access, it gives you that one-time code, kind of like Wells Fargo does. If you forget your card, you can go up to the ATM machine and put in that code, and then it will allow you access to your account. So we're kind of trying to work around these things, but also give you an alternative to bank. And you can still connect to the existing banking system, for example, to pay your bills or do other things you need to do. Our transfer mechanism, it runs about 128 billion transactions per second. that is a true quantum system. Blockchain is not a quantum system in any way at all. Just so you know, it's not even close. I think it's about 150,000 transactions per second, which would never, ever, ever be able to work to run the entire world's banking system. Now, if you think about it, even if you think there's 378 million Americans, some of them are not of banking age, and let's say there's 200 million that actually bank. I mean, there's much more than that. There has to be. Now, 8 billion people in the world, several 100 million of them are non-bankable. When you do the math and think about it, now if each person has a company, or 5 out of 10 have companies, they're also doing transactions as well at the same time. Plus you've got everybody's Visas and MasterCards and debit cards, and there's no way blockchain could exist at that level. So I know that, okay? I also know who takes over all the master nodes for all the currencies. I have the answer to that question. Therefore, so just to be very clear to all of you that are confused, I am not in any way involved in any cryptocurrency. I've never bought cryptocurrency. I will never buy cryptocurrency. The trust is not interested in participating in cryptocurrency. We are not involved with any cryptocurrency now, in the past, or in the future. This is a question I keep getting asked. Apparently someone is putting the word out there that I'm involved. I'm not involved. And the reason why I'm not involved, not that I don't think the people should have independence. And in the new banking system, you do. I understand being dependent on a third-party entity's currency, but for right now, remember, we're a small percentage of humanity that actually understands what's happening. The rest of everyone doesn't. So if you make dollars disappear overnight and we go to, you know, the Fed coin or some other coin, it will never work. People will start to panic. You know, a lot of people feel comfort, you know, especially the older generations and in countries like Africa, continents like Africa and South America, they still feel much more comfortable having cash in hand than they do having cash in a bank. And if you think the banking in the United States is bad, you should see the banking in the rest of the world. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, merchants can take 3 weeks to 4 weeks to actually get paid when you run your debit card at their store, depending on where you are in the world. There's no reason for this. So the new banking system, we're contemplating different names for it. Some names that have been kind of thrown around is pocket change, and then we talked about a couple of other user-friendly names. You know, we'll get there when we're ready to release it, because no matter what we do, people on the internet are going to say this is bad, this is terrible. So, you know, we'll just let people know where to find us, and if they need a place, and this is the place for you. Now, in this system, okay, to be very, very clear, you have the central bank of the trust, okay? That's where the money comes out. Then it goes into the database. So if you have a project, then we can fund your project this way. We can also provide small and micro loans, like if there's a fisherman in Africa that needs $1,000 for a fishing boat to increase his business, great, we're in. So it's micro, macro level lending. We have replaced all of the central banks in the new banking system, just in case the other ones happen not to have any cash anymore. But we do have a giant repository. So it's not a central bank. It's not called a treasury. It's called a repository. I named it a repository because it is outside all of the laws, rules, and regulations. That there is no law that has been written in any government anywhere about a repository. That's the reason why I chose it. So that repository has assets, hard assets, and it also has cash, and in some cases, multiple types of cash. So for example, other countries need to first have dollars in order to buy gas and oil. Then they also have dollars in there for that purpose. Some have euro, British pounds, depending on where they are in the world, but if not, they can exchange anything else that they need. So for every bit of cash currently in circulation, there is an asset available to back it. In some cases, that's in-ground assets. You, as a person, are on the same level as the central repository. You are an entity unto yourself. You are a bank unto yourself. You are your own repository, which means you can have cash in there. You can have gold. You can have anything you want in your own repository. It is yours. All you're doing is paying a small service fee here and there for the guys and ladies that have built the app, and for the guys and ladies that are running the Rails, making sure everything stays secure on what's called the front end. So your user platform, your user interface. So there'll be small fees and whatnot for transferring money back and forth, just like you pay right now. But it will be much, much less than the current banking system. Your exchange fees will be next to nothing. We, of course, are open to any suggestions on the new system because we can change the database. But pretty much the entire world looks like this now. There's no more hierarchical system. You know, it doesn't matter if you're in Zimbabwe or you're in the United States or you're the repository of the United States government. So that's here, you're over here, Tom, you're over here. Everybody's on the same tier, same level. So you're not, all you're doing is having a service agreement, a service provider agreement, meaning we're allowing you to have your repository in this location, your digital repository in this location. There is gold assets that back your currency, whatever it is that you have there. So there are monitors in there. If you have a project, for example, and you open a business account, we can tie that project to the key integrated monetary system, and you can put in your draw schedule in there. It'll alert you if you're behind. It'll alert you if you haven't received your draw on time. It'll tell you the progress of your project. On a macro level, every repository, every government that is issuing a currency, right, which is technically us issuing it now, but every government that is issuing a currency gets to see exactly how many projects are out there. Then they can kind of click through and say, okay, well, there's 9,000 projects in the state of Texas. Okay, well, how many of those are Houston? Click through again, it'll show you Houston. It'll tell you exactly what's going on in Houston, and then you can click through again and you can see everything from Lane's Bakery to Tom's hotel chain. So car wash. Oh, car wash. Sorry. Yeah, car wash. Yeah, we could call you a washer of sorts, right? You know?
Yes, yes.
You do a lot of washing.
I'd like to elaborate on just something real quick. So we all know that this is how the Fed started, right? So the trust was always behind the scenes with the Fed, and this is a whole new underlying financial system that's being built beside along with the Fed. So it's meant to replace, should they choose to implode everything. This is set in place so that we can take over, and there's something in place so nobody loses out. And that's all I wanted to add. Go ahead.
That's true. I'm drawing a little picture here just so you can get a general idea. Okay, so kind of how I did this, I don't know, can you see that? Are you able to see what I wrote, Tom?
Now move a little closer.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the entire banking system is over there, and we are over here, and there's a corridor that goes in between the two, and it's controlled by our system on the other side. So we can open that, we can close that. At any time. Should the Fed want to participate in the new system, you know, that's really up to the US government. That's up to other governments. This way here, it also has, like I said, the capability of connecting, which hopefully by tomorrow, that was going to be a surprise. I was going to actually connect it to all the presidential terminals, the diplomatic lines, so everybody could see the repository, so everybody would stop panicking. But haven't had that chance to get that done. I was trying to work on the actual us first. The same can also be done as well with the key intelligence and military platform. It can be connected to LifeForce in any location. Like I said on our last call, we need to have persons in each respective area that have access, so you can run background checks, you can check for pedophiles, child traffickers, you have access to satellite systems, everything that they didn't feel that they needed. Since they didn't want to work with us, you'll have access to. Now, if they do decide that they do want to work with us, we of course will welcome the agencies and the militaries back. as long as they act in the best interest of the country where they're from and the people. If they choose not to do that, we can go right back to the same situation. Now we have Life Force. So Life Force Enforcement Unit is for everyone. It's also for them. But, you know, as Tang said, we have a mission, right? We're doing this on behalf of all of humanity. And we expect citizens of each nation to stand up for the people. Hopefully, you know, that will work. Okay, next bit of question that I keep getting asked. I'm not involved in the revaluation of dinar or dongs or zims or historical bonds. Historical bonds or any of that. I've never started it. I wasn't a part of it. No one ever informed me. This started long before my tenure, apparently. It's been going on for about 13 years now. Everybody's waiting for a payout. We did have discussions about the trust funds projects. The trust can help fund people. That trust can do a lot of different things, but the trust, okay, and myself has never played a part in any revaluation of currency. So we've talked about perhaps, you know, there's a lot of people. Well, let me back up for a second. So when I asked Rothschild about it, because I knew that they were involved, I was actually on the telephone from their lips to my ears when they told me the RV was carrots for jackasses. I didn't say it, they said it. And that next day, poor Tom didn't know this conversation was going on. And what happened the next day, Tom?
The next day, we tried to get a communication going with Mayor Rothschild, and they didn't want to because they were pissed. All the generals, everybody who heard that conversation, were pissed because they now are being looked at as fools, that they are believing something that was really nothing anyway. Yeah. So I got a lot of nasty phone calls thinking that I was part of that, and I was nowhere near any part of that. And I just wanted to say that you will see an uptick in the push to buy and sell Iraqi dinars, which is illegal. Zimbabwe's black, what were those things? Black Eagles, and all these historical bonds as well. There is an uptick because that's the only thing they have left, is to try to dupe more people out of their good, hard-earned money. Back to you, Kim.
Okay. You know, if you look at some of the names of these bonds, Black Eagle, and we've already made that connection on our last call between the Black Sun and Black Eagle. So, you know, there's a lot of hidden layers to everything that's going on, who was involved, and we can get into that another time. I just I cannot update you on when the RV is going to happen because I don't have a clue. I'm not involved. I hear lots of talk and chatter about other trusts, St. Germain's and Rodriguez's and all these people. I personally have never seen any of these things, but I'm not really sure what they're talking about anyway. So I just thought I would let you know that I'm not involved in that, because everybody keeps asking when is the RV going to happen, and you can't ask me that question because I'm not involved. So you have to ask other people who are involved. Now, Tom mentioned earlier today, I had on my list to talk about too. So now you understand where the mass mutiny is coming from that is behind all the calls to the White House today, because nobody knows what to do. Everything is gone. The Feds stopped answering calls on Friday. They said they'd be back to work on Monday. You know, we're finding ties between all kinds of people at the Fed and some nefarious activities. The team at UNC has actually been doing a great job at doing a lot of the digging. Next, we talked about the Federal Reserve and its IT problem. We talked about Life Force. We talked about, so Tom was also involved in the file with David Rea. Many of you know him on the internet as Team Bubba. And the FBI received calls from Democratic senators preventing an investigation. I think it was 2 or 3, Tom. We talked about this on the last call. But
yeah,
anyway.
At least 3, yes. Yeah,
that's your Team Bubba leader there, right there. His name's David Rea. He lives right outside NSA headquarters on the East Coast. So we caught that his home computer ties to a server in Lithuania, which is protected by KPMG. Now, if you don't know KPMG, KPMG is also the auditor of the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve, amongst many other banking institutions. They also have an ancillary organization that is in New York, which works very closely with the FBI as an NGO, a non-governmental organization, in order to monitor things. So very interesting organization, very interesting assets they protect, also tied to Hillary Clinton's Bulgaria server as well, the one everybody's looking for. So for all those listening, that might be a investigator of Obamagate or the Clintons or any of these people. All you need to do is go to Bulgaria and track down all KPMG's hardware, and you will find everything you're looking for. Okay, so next, two other issues that have been asked about. Number one, a person mentioned that a queen that you do not see in the news, is this person dead, and was purportedly brutally murdered, something. The answer to the question is no. That person, that party is not dead. I don't know where that came from, but that question has been asked at least 10 or 15 times in the last couple of weeks. So I just wanted to let everybody know the answer to the question is no, not dead. Still alive, still doing the job, still doing her thing in her place. So next, and not in a bad way to our detriment or one way or the other, just kind of neutral and more concerned with that issue. Okay, next, another question. 700 and something thousand Black Sun agents died. Okay, well, first of all, most of the people that work for the Black Sun don't know they're Black Sun. So if you're talking about having 700,000 worldwide that actually know they are Black Sun, the answer to that question would probably be, that's a stretch. Number two, we would notice if that actually happened, because you would have a lot of newsworthy people, a lot of celebrities, a lot of people in politics around the world having disappeared. So that did not happen to my knowledge. I have checked, rechecked, double checked. The answer to the question is no. So I'm not to say that no one did. I do know personally of somewhere around 186, 189. I think the tally might be a little over 200 now. Very high ranking persons. But I don't have any record of that many people in one day or 1 week or whatever it was that was said. So if anybody has any other questions about these types of things, you can ask that when we get to the question and answer section. Next, for those of you, Tank mentioned Project Mockingbird. If you don't know what Project Mockingbird actually is, it was started in the 20s and 30s and involved, for example, Mr. Hearst and yellow journalism, which is meant to control the entire narrative. Project Mockingbird is birthed out of the Central Intelligence Agency, and just one of many projects that you probably heard about on the internet, which is designed to control the narrative. This week, very interestingly enough, in the last 3 or 4 days, we said on our last call that the news is produced ahead of time. 1 week ahead of time, the news stations receive their information. So knowing that a lot of the stuff has been cut off within the last 2 weeks, all of a sudden we're seeing virtually no news, not on the global stations anyway. So this kind of proves the theory that Project Mockingbird probably exists, because they're having to put people in the field now. And these field people, you would call them journalists, and I call them agency people, not only in America, but in UK, all over the Commonwealth, all over the Middle East, all over Russia. Everyone knows if you have a journalist in the field, then you most likely have an agent. So, and I've been approached by many journalists over the years looking for information and all kinds of things. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that probably 90% of the time that that's true. Would you say the same, Tom?
I would, yes.
Yeah. So everybody knows when CNN comes, it's the CIA. Other countries will also say when the Peace Corps shows up, they welcome the CIA. So, you know, it's not, these are not hidden things. Maybe in America they are, but not in the all over the world. So, you know, the rumors are everything is kind of split over there, but what I see is I see two different sides of the same agency, or possibly three or four, all working for the same group. You, of course, have differing levels and different levels of individuals that are, they know they're not permitted to go down in the elevator. They just don't know why they're not going down in the elevator or into certain areas of the building or certain accessibilities. There's rumors that swirl around that these things happen, but individuals on that level probably wouldn't be aware of anything. You know, I'm telling you, biological weapons, all kinds of things come out of different places in the world related to different organizations. They've always been extremely, extremely kind to me. Wouldn't you say, Tom? Just so, I mean, yeah. Caring, kind, generous, you know, so, you know, I'm a giver, you know, I can give too, and in that same way. Okay, so that is about what I have, an update. I have a call on Monday with the front end guys, see how far we've gotten. Steven's involved with that. We're probably going to work on making some connections and stuff over the next couple of days, making sure everything is wrapped up tight. Let's see, all the companies have been formed, Life Force Studios, United News Channel. The United News Channel is going very, very well. We have our studio almost completely up and running. There's just a couple of transitions and stuff we have to put in there. Our promos and our trailers should be out in the next 24, 48 hours, probably 48 hours, because we have to do a little piece added on the end there. We have been working, I've been working also with some other folks on our edutainment section. Edutainment is a series of fun cartoons that tell real history. We also have an interview coming up in the next probably week or so, maybe two, with one of the gentlemen that was on a think tank called the Pythagoreans. And the Pythagoreans were instrumental in creating the event we know as 9/11. So I'm looking forward to that interview. You'll be looking forward to that interview too. So we have a lot of information coming out on other major events that have happened throughout the years, wars, all kinds of things that these people were involved in. Oop. Sorry, I gotta get that off. So I'm excited. I'm excited about United News Channel. I'm excited about, we should be sending out press passes to our citizen reporters that have wanted to join us in that capacity. We will be forming some chat rooms for citizen reporters. So if we have something that's breaking or really important, if we have someone that happens to be, like, for example, in Washington, D.C. or in Seattle or in California, and there's something going on right now, you know, of course, we understand everybody has lives and jobs, but, you know, if we could get somebody there, well, that's where all those notifications will go out. So we did start putting together a directory for citizen reporters, for UNC, and that respect. Now, for Life Force, part of what we're doing on this call today is to kind of establish who wants to be a part of the legal. If you do want to take a part in the legal or lawful part of Life Force, let us know so we can establish a directory so we know who everybody needs to contact in what capacity. So we hope to work on that as quickly as we can and try to get this out hopefully sometime this week. I think Tank probably has more information on that. On the financial sector, we've discussed that so far. We've discussed a little bit about the edutainment piece. What else do we have here? We've discussed the enforcement unit also needs to do the same thing. States, countries, if you are participating in a particular area, we want to try to put everybody together so that you can structure your enforcement unit, figure out who is going to have the key intelligence and military system, and then we can know who to call, who we're going to add in our database, who's going to be on call and when. And so I think the Tank has been working on the app with these other guys this week. Hopefully, I think we got control panel right now, Tank. Tank.
Yes, we do. Yeah, now we have we have access to it. We're actually just fine tuning it. Actually, that'll probably launch in the next 2 days as well.
Yeah. And then eventually, once we get everybody in each particular area together, cybersecurity folks and the health and wellness areas, then we can kind of break it down by country, and maybe some specialty, a little bit of information about yourself, what it is that you're doing, so people know who to reach out to. And then we can start putting some structure to this, not only in the United States, but also globally.